and welcome to our fourth edition of our On Time Courier podcast here at US Pack. My name is Kevin Beasley. I'm the Director of Contractor Procurement, and it's really my privilege each month to bring this to you and bring you as much information as we can about the company and being a contractor here at US Pat. So hopefully you're finding these podcasts to be beneficial. And while we're on that topic, I will ask something of you. Um, as we do these podcasts, we really want to hear feedback from you. What would you like to hear discussed on here? What questions do you have for the company? What questions are there people in the company you'd like to see us speak to that maybe we haven't brought onto the podcast yet? Let us know. And you can submit those questions and thoughts via email, and the email address we'll put on the screen here for you, but it is simply driverexperienceteam@gouspack.com. Driver experience team at gouspack.com. We need to hear from you. We need to hear what you want to hear, what you want in these podcasts. And don't be bashful. This is your podcast that we hope you're finding beneficial. So, having said that, we have got an action-packed one here for you this month. We really are fortunate with the two guests we have. So, we are starting out with Frank Powell. Frank is our Executive Vice President in charge of sales in the Critical Mile Division. And Frank is just a world of knowledge. He has been in this industry for, I believe he told me once, over 40 years, knows the business inside out, and really is going to share some great thoughts with each of you about the company, what we do from a sales perspective to get great customers in here for you all to run shipments for. So he's just going to be tremendous. Again, we're always going to have Liz Billias. She's going to be on with a safety message, and Liz always does a tremendous job with that. We're fortunate to have her on with us. And then our last guest will be Brent Bressler. Brent is somebody that behind the scenes is key in this company. He is our Director of Dispatch. So when each of you call in and speak to a dispatcher about an issue or question you may be having, you're speaking to a member of Brent's team. Brent has been with the company over 10 years. He knows it inside out. He's going to give you a lot of great information on what to do if you have questions or concerns or anything may happen on a shipment that you have a question on. He's going to give you that information and let you know what happens behind the scenes and how they handle those. So we got an action-packed episode here for you. Again, we're excited to bring it to you. And I'm just a small piece of that. The entire company takes great pride in being able to bring this podcast for you. And again, the people behind the scenes that you don't see, Kate Wiles, who's our producer, director, editor, does everything. And then Ken Foltz, who's our senior manager of driver experience, is really the driving force behind this. So kudos to them, and thank you for the effort that those two put in. But having said all that, we got a lot to get started. Let's go ahead and sit back, and hopefully you'll enjoy the podcast. Let's go. All right, everybody. We're very privileged this week for our first guest to really have a guy that I've had the privilege of working with for a couple of years here. He's just a wealth of knowledge and experience in this industry. Frank Powell is joining us. Frank, thank you so much for being with us today.
My pleasure. Happy to be here.
All right. When I first started, Frank was in the operations team, and Frank is now leading our sales efforts. So this will be a really great opportunity for us to hear from Frank, the man himself, about what's coming up, what to be expecting for contractors, and really what's in our future. So having said all that, Frank, do us a favor. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, if you would.
Certainly. And thanks again for asking me to come on and chat with you today. I've been in the same day courier logistics business for about 45 years. I was a very young man in college in South Carolina, and I had a friend whose father owned a delivery company, and I started working there when I was in school as a delivery driver, and then had several other jobs there, warehouse supervisor, dispatcher, etc., and kind of worked my way up after I left college and stayed there for several years up to VP of the organization, and really enjoyed the work and wanted to stick with it. And then decided when I was kind of pushing my 40th birthday that I should move to a larger company, and I went to a regional carrier. And at that point, I started doing both operations and sales, and have done that through a couple other changes in my career. And then I was fortunate enough to meet Peter Glassman about 15 years ago. And Peter is the founder of US Pack. And Peter and I met at a trade conference out in Scottsdale, Arizona, and started talking, and became fast friends and stayed friends. And ultimately, the company I was with, I sold some business there, some new accounts that were outside of our service territory. So I contracted those out to US Pack, and I was so impressed with Peter and the operation that ultimately I left that company and came to work for Peter and US Pack about 13 years ago. And at that time, I was brought into the business as the national sales guy. No title, no anything. I had a plain business card with my name on it, and kind of a pat on the back and good luck. And was very fortunate to join Peter and his son Mark when the company was still young and fresh. And it's just one of those, kind of once in a lifetime things where our relationship really clicked. And we very quickly grew the company, and doubled in size in a couple of years, and then quadrupled in size. And then
Wow.
now today, the company is probably 12 times the size it was when I joined it, 13 years ago. And through that time period, I did get a few titles along the way. I did sales work the first few years, and then I did some operations work. Was head of the operations. I was both operations and sales. And as you mentioned, Kevin, the last several years I've been doing a lot of the operational work. And late last year, as we updated the company and created these two new divisions, the healthcare division and the critical mile, Mike Clark, who's the CEO, asked me if I would head up the revenue efforts for the critical mile, which I'm very excited to do, and really already engaged with this team and working on some great things that are coming forth.
Awesome, Frank. Thank you for going through that. And
Sure.
45 years, man, that is that's a long career, something to be extremely proud of. And I'm sure you've seen this industry changing quite a bit. And then you mentioned being at US Pat 12, 13 years. You've seen a lot of change here as well.
The industry certainly has changed a lot. When I joined it, when I first started in the late 70s, all the communication was on two-way radio, and we had pagers and had to find cell phones and call into the
Yeah.
dispatch office. Our dispatch board was a magnetic board, and we hand wrote our tickets and moved them across the board
Wow.
and stamped them with a timestamp. No scanning, no devices, no cell phones, no any of that stuff. And certainly the industry is involved with technology, but the customer base has changed quite a bit, over 4 decades. And the
Sure.
product that's being transferred is much different than what it was, when I started in this business.
Yeah, certainly technology has changed, not only in industry but our everyday lives. So, uh, you mentioned the reorganization we're going through, Frank, and we've talked to our contractors about that each of our episodes, and I'm really interested to get your thoughts on, now that we have reorganized both the operations and our sales team on healthcare critical mile. Would you mind sharing a little bit of your thoughts on what that means for our contractors, how it impacts them, and what they can do to be successful here at US Bank?
Yeah, absolutely. And the very first thing I would say to the contractors is it's truly unlimited opportunity. And we're not by any means holding contractors to one division. If you contract with us for something on the healthcare side, we're not only open, we're encouraging those contractors to also contract with us and do some of the activity that we have on the critical mile side. And on the critical mile side, as we split the company into these two divisions and pulled everything healthcare out into the healthcare side, the critical mile side has several really very interesting aspects to it. And the critical mile is about 60% what we call network, or our courier drivers or partners that do work in their personal vehicles or in a cargo van. A lot of that type of activity that's very routine and happens, on a daily basis or a weekly basis, that we do truly across the country and in 48 states. And then we also have a piece in the critical mile that's much more cargo and freight oriented. And we have several of our own U.S. PAC facilities across the country. And then we have a network of, I think, 65 or 70 plus agents that we use across the country for our cargo type activity. So that's straight trucks and tractor trailers and more of your like box truck or sprinter vans type activity.
Sure. We really do a little bit of everything, don't we, Frank? It's
We
pretty
we
diverse.
we do a little bit of everything, and we're certainly open to those opportunities as they come up. We are trying to focus on specific verticals, particularly for the critical mile, that we believe will further enhance those opportunities for the independent contractors and help us build value with US PAC.
Awesome. Yeah. Again, thank you for going through that. I do want to touch back on one of the things you mentioned and stress, and I just want to make sure we give the contractors what they need for information for that. You talked about the possibility of cross contracting, as we call it, being able to do both critical mile and healthcare type opportunities. Again, those opportunities are out there. We have several ICs today or contractors that will run a little bit of both. And if you're not currently doing that today and you have an interest in it, please reach out to your local field representative. Reach out to my sourcing team. Reach out to anyone in our operations department, and we can discuss those different opportunities for you and how you can get set up for that. So, Frank, thank you for that and touching on that. Um, in that critical mile, which you talked about, and we do a little bit of everything, almost a lot. What are some of, as we look to the future, some of the areas you see us really expanding into, or the different types of commodities you see us hauling, or different customer groups, I guess I'll talk about that we can expect for our contractors?
Yeah. So historically, we've done a lot of auto parts activity and financial activity, and a lot of retail activity too. So we're certainly not uh, discounting that. We're not moving away from that or turning our back on that. We're going to continue to grow those verticals, but we're also building more specific retail. Some of our retail partners where we do distribution work too. We're looking to do direct from store activity, so much more on demand type activities. One of the retail things that we're working on, we're developing an air cargo response where we pick up and delivery air cargo and air freight. And that's a great tie in to some of our medical drivers who are TSA certified, who could also do some of this air cargo activity for the critical mile team. And then we're looking at, a new vertical for us is renewable energy. And we're doing some work with some solar panels and other energy and utilities across the country. So we're really excited about that and looking to expand that into several markets across the country. And industrial parts is another opportunity for us to further expand. And we're pursuing some government contracts, which
Awesome.
again require a little higher, maybe some LMS or further driver orientation than some of the, say, auto parts work, but also are compensated at a different level too. So we're expanding in those operations and those activities. And another one that's been kind of a mainstay for us is hospitality. And we really like that vertical, and we're expanding there too. And when I say hospitality, that's normally supplies for hotels or restaurants or convention centers and things like that.
Wow, there's a lot as you're talking through all the different opportunities stuff, Frank. It's just the opportunities we have available just seem to be endless. So I know we and now as head of our sales team in the critical mile area, we have some aggressive goals to grow that division in the coming years, do we not?
We certainly do, and the critical mile division is actually in revenues a little bit larger than our healthcare division, and it certainly covers a lot more geography. We have a goal this year to grow at 20%, and I think the future goals are even um, a larger percentage of growth year over year that we're expecting.
Wow, 20% growth. That's an aggressive goal. I know we're well on our way to reaching that. And again, opportunities for our contractors and the other thing I would take I guess the opportunity to bring forward. If any of our contractors, if you know others out there that may be interested in getting into this field or exploring it and looking at opportunities, please be sure to let them know about us because that growth, as Frank is talking about, 20%, that's aggressive. Uh, we need you. We need our contractors to be a big piece of that to help us meet our customer needs. So thank you for that. Frank, this has been awesome as I knew it would. You're a wealth of knowledge and experience in this industry. Hey, just going to ask you, with your experience, what advice would you give to our contractors? What would you tell them on things they could do to be successful here at US Pack?
I think the first thing is to be prepared. I think with anything you want to be prepared, and the right way to prepare is to understand what the expectations are. Speak to your local U.S. PAC representative, and don't assume that there aren't other opportunities. If you sign up for one thing, there's a very good chance that something is available or might be coming available. And also, I would say, be open to opportunities that go beyond your current vehicle or your current situation. I can't tell you how many master contractors we now have with US PAC that were drivers that came aboard with us a year ago or 2 years ago or 10 years ago, driving one vehicle, doing one route or a couple pickups, and then brought somebody else on and became a master contractor and added two, three, four, five vehicles and have their own nice little business that they're running and do a lot of work for US PAC and quite possibly do work for other transportation companies too. But I would encourage, independent contractors to ask questions. Don't
Yeah.
don't assume anything. Ask questions, and all the customers are looking for the same thing. They want professionalism. They want nice, clean, presentable drivers, vehicles, etc. It's always good to have a vehicle clean and well organized. And then I think it's be personable, be pleasant when you're interacting with the customers. Always goes for a long way. I believe since I've been here, probably 50% of our growth has been organic, maybe more than that, where our same customers wanted to do more business with us. And that's a direct reflection on our fleet, on the drivers that interact with them and our field representatives that interact with the customer base. You can help us bring business on, and that in case can grow your business too. If you have ideas or something that's available, speak to your local representative and say, hey, I know this guy that's I used to deliver for, and let them know, and we'll certainly pursue that, and that could be another opportunity for you to earn.
Awesome. Great advice, Frank. And, as you said, so many opportunities. And uh, I agree with you completely on communication, right? And our contractors have a lot of avenues to go to. You've got your local field representatives, as you mentioned. You have the driver experience team. They're there strictly for our contractors to help their experience be the very best it can be. The sourcing team. Everybody's here to help our contractors answer questions for them and to be as successful as they can at US Pat. So Frank, it has been a privilege. I appreciate greatly you taking the time. I know you're a busy man to spend a few moments with us and share your experience and your knowledge with us and our listeners. So thank you so much for that. And I think from here we're going to move on to Liz Billias, who has our monthly safety message. So Frank, take care.
Thank you. Thanks for everyone for listening.
Thanks, Kevin, and thank you, Frank, for sharing some of your time with our contractor partners today. As we transition into springtime, I want to take a moment to highlight a few important safety reminders to keep you aware and prepared while on the road. With the recent time change, many of us are adjusting to new sunrise and sunset times. This means you may encounter increased sun glare during your early morning or late afternoon pickups and deliveries. Sun glare can significantly reduce visibility, making it harder to see pedestrians, road signs, and even other vehicles. Some best safety practices for you to consider are keeping a pair of polarized sunglasses in your vehicle to reduce glare, cleaning your windshield both inside and out to prevent streaks that amplify glare, using your sun visor and adjusting your speed when visibility is compromised, leaving extra following distance in case other drivers are struggling with visibility. Additionally, as we move into spring break and school vacation weeks, expect increased pedestrian activity, more young and inexperienced drivers on the road, and potential changes in school bus schedules. Whether you're in a busy city or a suburban neighborhood, stay extra vigilant around parks, shopping centers, and school zones. Kids are not always going to be paying attention, so we need to be extra cautious and prepared to stop suddenly if needed. Remember that your safety is our priority. By staying alert and adjusting to these seasonal changes, we can all do our part to keep ourselves, our customers, and our communities safe. Drive smart, stay safe, and thank you for all you do for US PAC's valued customers. Kevin, turning it back over to you. We're all excited to hear about US PAC Dispatch and how they support the business operations of our courier partners.
All right, everybody. We are really fortunate to have our next guest with us. Our next guest is Brent Bressler. Brent is the Director of Dispatch for the company, and we're very fortunate to have him here with us today. So, Brent, thank you so much for joining us today.
Sure thing. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, I always like to have guests on here that you and your team play a huge part in the success of the company, right? You're dealing with customers, you're dealing with contractors. If there's an engine room to this company, you guys are in it, making the company go. So that's it's always good to get insight from people in your position.
Appreciate that.
Brent, if you would, for the contractors and for the audience who may not have met you before, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Again, the name's Brent Bressler. I'm the Director of Dispatch. I've been with US PAC now going on 11 years, so it's been quite some time. I oversee a dispatch team that operates across the nation in different locations. We're a 24/7, 365 operation. We're ready to go on holidays, overnight, whatever our customer needs. We're operational. We're there for them. We have a great leadership team in dispatch that monitors behind our dispatchers to ensure that we're hitting on all quality expectations, all customer expectations. Currently, our dispatch team is broken up into two departments. We have a medical dispatch team that specializes in things like pharmaceutical home delivery, lab work, specimens to labs, and also what's new to us, but it's growing really, really fast, is life sciences, which is really, really exciting. The other half of the dispatch team is critical mile, and we're doing things from automotive, banking, retail, and big and bulky.
Awesome. Yeah, you guys are involved in all of it, certainly. And you touched on a subject that we've touched on several times with our contractors, Brent, which is the new reorganization, right? We went through a few months ago,
Right.
where we now have a critical mile division and we have a healthcare division. So as contractors need to work with your dispatch teams in each vertical, there's different phone numbers for them, different ways for them to contact your team, is there not?
There is, and I'm glad you brought that up because that is a recent change. And if you don't have that phone number plugged into your contact list, you may miss it. You may miss an important call. You may miss a revenue generating call. But today, and I think we're going to put these phone numbers up on the screen for the independent contractors, but there's two of them, one specifically for the healthcare drivers. That phone number is 727-828-2138. Again, that's 727-828-2138. That's specific for healthcare drivers. And then on the critical mile side, the phone number is 727-539-0949. So 727-539-0949. We do have separate numbers for our customers. Some of them have their own personal ones. Some of them call into a healthcare or a critical mile dedicated line. But those are the two that our drivers would utilize. And it's important that they get to the right one because they want to get to the skilled dispatcher that understands the customer's expectations and can help them with whatever question that they have.
Yeah, and that's a great point you bring up, Brent, because many of our contractors, may haul both for both divisions, right? They may haul some products for healthcare and they may do some for the critical mile as well, to know which division, and if they have questions, which of those two numbers to reach out to. I think that's a key point you made. So thank you for that. And as Brent said, we'll put these on the screen for you. So if you're watching this, you can have those as well. But please note those numbers if you don't already have them. Reaching to Brent and his team are obviously key to anytime you have questions or that type of thing. Which brings me to a next question, Brent. So at times we may have contractors who, English may not be their first language. They may struggle with it or speak a different language. How do you and your team handle that at times?
Another great question. We're constantly looking at technology, the way to route drivers to the appropriate dispatcher as fast as we possibly can. We're even looking at technology that may convert language to whatever language the individual is speaking. Currently, it's been a part of our recruiting strategy and our hiring strategy to recruit Spanish-speaking individuals, bilingual individuals, so that this way we can service those drivers that choose to speak in Spanish. Comprehension of what we're saying is critical. And if that's, what they're asking us to deliver it to them in, we want to make sure that they fully understand what the expectations are. So currently the process would be, if you get on the line and you're looking to speak to a Spanish-speaking individual, just ask, and we'll transfer you right over to that individual, and we'll make sure that we give you the service that you're looking for.
That is an awesome point, Brennan. Thank you for going through that, because first of all, it's key, right? If our contractors have questions on anything they're doing in the field with a shipment or whatever, it's key they reach out to you and your team, correct? And then they need to know that they can speak to someone who can relate to them and answer their questions appropriately. So that's great to hear. Yeah. I'll be excited to hear about the technology piece you're working on and see how that turns out.
Well, we're also using text too. So we can text to a driver and they can automatically convert it to the language that they're looking for. So if that's something that they think would benefit them when they're interacting with us, just ask about those texting options.
That is key, because I got to tell you, I didn't know we had that capability, that we were doing that. So that is awesome to hear. I'm glad to hear that. So hopefully our contractors that are listening will make note of that and can take advantage of that as well.
Sure thing.
Obviously, when you're speaking to the contractors, you probably come across a lot of different things that might happen, issues, positive things, all that kind of stuff. What if a contractor has an issue or a concern, Brent? How do you handle that, or what do you do with that?
Yeah, and first of all, again, we're a 24/7 operation. Anytime you have any question, feel free to call into dispatch. We'll get you to the right location. We're constantly monitoring weather conditions, informing the drivers of what they may run into, telling them to be careful out there.
Anything a contractor runs into while they're under a shipment or going to pick up a shipment, you and your team are certainly capable of jumping in and helping them out.
Yeah, we have internal customers and we have external customers. External customers are the recipients of the pickup and the deliveries, and our internal customers are independent contractors.
That is awesome to hear.
Yeah. And by the way, we're answering probably 1,000 inbound calls from drivers per day. That's relative to our 40,000 plus stops a day. We're making 1,000 outbound calls to our drivers, checking on them, giving them directional information. And what we target when they call us, and we're constantly monitoring this, we want to answer the call in 10 seconds or less. There may be pockets where volume spikes up, or we have a dispatcher that has to go on a special assignment, but we're constantly monitoring it. We know time is critical, right? So we want to answer their call in 10 seconds or less.
Wow, that's impressive. So you're taking 1,000 calls a day, you're making 1,000 calls a day, and you're committed to trying to pick up the phone within 10 seconds. That's an aggressive goal, and one I'm sure you and your team are doing an extremely great job with.
Appreciate that.
Awesome. Those are great numbers, Brent. Thank you for providing those to us. It kind of gives us, a little bit of the scope of not only the great job you and your team do, but just the size of our company, the volume of shipments we're running each and every day, and just the well-oiled machine and keeping all that moving. And thank you for going through that. That's certainly enlightening to me, and I'm sure everybody listening.
Definitely.
All right. So thank you for going through all that. This has been extremely informative. Brent, you know this business inside out. You've been with the company, as you said, going on 11 years. What words of wisdom, or what would you say to our contractors to help them to be successful here at US Pack?
Oh, listen, I'm a parent of a child that's dependent on prescriptions. I have friends and family members that are dependent on getting tested and getting treated for whatever ailment they have. I'm dependent on transportation and my vehicle, so I would just like to express what they do is just so important. And it's just, you get into doing something day in and day out, you really forget, what the impact that you have on what it is that you do. And I think that's what makes this so exciting. And we try to triage anything that, comes our way that could cause a delay and get the driver back on the road. So again, I just appreciate what they do. It's extremely important. Lives depend on our deliveries. So, I appreciate their passion for service. And I actually really appreciate the relationship that our drivers have with the dispatchers, because it's an extremely hard job. But when I listened to a call where a driver calls a dispatcher and they know each other. They know something personal about each other. They
That's
know what
good.
kind of vehicle they're in. They know how long they've been with us. Hearing that type of relationship and camaraderie is fantastic. So we thank our drivers for that.
That's awesome. And to hear that type of personal connection we have with many of our contractors, that's just one of the many things that makes US Pat such a great place for contractors to be, is not only that large scope of business, like you mentioned some of the things that we haul shipments, pharmaceuticals and tests and auto parts and financial documents and all that, but also to know we're this large company with that large scope of business, but yet we take time to have those one-on-one relationships with our contractors. So that is really great to hear, Brennan. Thank you for going through that.
Sure.
All right. Well, again, thank you so much for your time. We'll have to make sure to get you on a future edition. This time has flown by extremely quickly. Thank you for all the great information. Thank you for all the things you do for our contractors each and every day to help them to be successful. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Well, I appreciate it. And I appreciate you doing this. I think it's a great thing.
Awesome. Thank you, Brent. Take care.
Thank you.
That wraps episode 4 of the On Time Courier podcast. Thanks for riding along with us as we delivered the latest in last mile logistics, contractor success, and everything in between. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow or subscribe so you don't miss out. Do you have questions or topics that you'd like us to cover? Send them our way. We'd love to hear from you. In fact, our next episode will have a portion dedicated to questions from you, our contractor network. So please send us an email at driverexperienceteam, all one word, at gouspac.com. Until next time, keep delivering excellence, stay safe out there, and remember, every stop counts and every mile matters.